What's up, everyone? It's Fuzzy. Welcome back to yet another MLB Recap. I was honestly struggling to figure out what I was going to talk about in today's video, but then Yusei Kikuchi figured out a brand new team to play for. We have a crazy update, and I mean a crazy update on Garrett Crochet. The reports are that there's a deal in deep discussion between the White Sox and the Phillies. The Red Sox, they're also considering a Devers move, but it's not a trade. They're just kind of sick of him being a butcher at third base, and they might be filling that void with Nolan Arenado. And the Yankees, they're apparently trying to replicate the 1950s because it really seems like this 5'6" prospect is about to play a ton in 2025. So again, this is MLB Recap. We post these almost every single day, so if you want to stay up to date on the game of baseball, hit that subscribe button and leave a like. So we have a breaking rumor surrounding the Phillies and the White Sox. The reports are suggesting that there are deep conversations for Garrett Crochet in a trade for Alec Bohm and Justin Crawford. So those two guys could be in a White Sox uniform very soon. Now, if Justin Crawford sounds very familiar, it's because he's the son of former Rays megastar. If you guys don't remember Carl Crawford, you missed out on a lot of fun. He was as exciting as it gets when it comes to a guy who could play some great defense, steal you a bag, and hit a home run every so often. He's also the second cousin of Mariners shortstop J.P. Crawford, and Justin, he played down the street from me at Bishop Gorman, the same school that Joey Gallo and Austin Wells went to. Now, last year in Double-A, Justin hit .333, and between Double-A and Single-A, he had 42 stolen bases. It would really suck to lose him because he's going to be a lightning rod for whoever he plays for. And also, Bohm, he was fantastic in the regular season with improved defense. But if you can go Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, and Garrett Crochet, that is as lethal of a 1-3 punch that you can have in the game of baseball. Not sure if my voice just cracked. If it did, I am very sorry, but I haven't even factored in a Ranger Suarez or a Christopher Sanchez. That 1-5 for the Phillies could be all-time good. So the Phillies are trying to make some room for Garrett Crochet. The Red Sox are also making some room at third base, but that's not because they're trading Rafael Devers, a perennial all-star, and in my opinion, a generational offensive player. They're trying to get Rafael Devers to make a change to first base. That would mean that Tristan Casas will be the full-time DH. Masataka Yoshida, thank you for your services, sir, but he's going to be traded 100% if that happens, and I wholeheartedly agree with this idea on paper because Devers has a career -62 DRS, that's defensive run saves, and if you like baseball savant or outs above average, he just has a -30 outs above average at third base. Now, in addition to them wanting to move Rafael Devers to first base, they want to fill that void with Nolan Arenado, so we could potentially have a reunion of one of my favorite left side duos of my lifetime, Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story, unless they somehow trade for Nolan and then make room by giving away Masataka and Trevor Story. I don't think that's going to happen, but here's another breaking story about the Red Sox as well. Not only do they want to move Rafael Devers and fill that void at third base with a potential all-star in Nolan Arenado or someone else, they also want two of the three star pitchers. I'm talking about two of these three guys, Corbin Burnes, Blake Snell, and Max Fried. The Red Sox, they haven't really done anything crazy yet, like the Angels. We'll talk about the Angels after this, and Yusei Kikuchi, because they're actually making things happen, but the Red Sox have been part of every single mega rumor to start this offseason. Juan Soto, maybe a Nolan Arenado trade, maybe two of the three, Burnes, Fried, and Snell. They're going crazy this year, and they're allowed to because they got a ton of money, prospects for days. They could have a fantastic 2025 and beyond. All right, here we go. Yusei Kikuchi just got a crazy deal for a guy with a career 4.16 ERA. No, I did not stammer. I did not stutter. That is not a joke. April Fool's Day is months away. That is his actual ERA over his first 800 big league innings. So he gets 3 years, $63 million from the LA Angels. Now, before we talk about the 2025 Angels staff lineup and potentially projecting if they could be a playoff team, let's talk about Kikuchi because back in 2021, he was an all-star. Then he had a 6 ERA in the second half, and opposing teams slugged .525 against him in the second half of 2021. So for context, Bryce Harper this year was fantastic. He had a .525 slugging. So back in 2021 in the second half, Yusei literally made opposing teams hit like Bryce Harper. And then sure enough, a few years later, he can finish top 9 in the Cy Young. How good he was down the stretch after being traded to the Astros. So he was insane. And I do mean that. He had a 2.7 ERA across 10 starts. Everything got better. I'm talking the hits per 9 went down. The walks per 9 went down. The strikeouts per 9 skyrocketed. 76 strikeouts in 60 innings. And dating back to July 9th, his final 14 starts. So again, he was still a Blue Jay at this point. Then he transitioned to the Astros. He had 108 strikeouts over 81 innings, and the opposing teams hit 214. He was kind of like the bootleg Blake Snell to end the season. That's how good he was. Now, even if you're just a casual fan of baseball, you're probably aware of the perennial black hole that is the LA Angels. I am so sorry, Angels fans, but every time I get excited about the Halos, they let me down in the worst way. So let's see what they could potentially do in 2025 with this move and the other moves that they've made. Now, just a quick reminder before we talk about how good the 2025 Angels could be. If you want to see this black hole in person, don't forget to save yourself 20 bucks off your tickets using code Fuzzy on SeatGeek. And also with Underdog, they got a ton of free promos and pick'ems if you download and sign up using code Fuzzy. You're welcome. Now back to the action. I'm going to go ahead and give the lineup, rotation, and bullpen a grade for the 2025 Angels, at least on paper what they have right now. I'm going to give the lineup a straight up B+, almost an A, because they're going to slug. They have a chance of also being a really good on-base team if Braves Jorge Soler shows up. And this is a big caveat, a big time asterisk, because this guy's been pathetic the last few years, but at least Anthony Rendon, when he's healthy, still takes his walks and get on base. So if you can go a Mike Trout, Jorge Soler, Logan O'Hoppe is fantastic behind the dish, Zach Neto, if you have the platoon of Mickey Moniak and Joe Adell with some other guys like Zach Neto and some other people I'm probably even forgetting. Nolan Schanuel, he's a big-time on-base guy as well. How could I forget potential trade candidates like Taylor Ward and Luis Rengifo? On paper, if those guys stay healthy, it's a B+ lineup, at least to me. It's a lot of slug, and they can get on base. With the addition of Yusei, you're going to go Yusei Kikuchi, Tyler Anderson, Jose Soriano, so that's a pretty good 1 through 3. Now, the 4 and 5 are Kyle Hendricks and Reed Detmers. I mean, Detmers, he's got the stuff. He threw a dang no-hitter, but the off-speed has been completely hittable, so maybe they're bringing in a Kyle Hendricks to try and fix the off-speed mix for Reed Detmers. Maybe he's going to be a pseudo pitching coach. I have no idea. I'm going to give the Angels rotation a C+, because I don't know if Yusei is going to be able to replicate that success. Tyler Anderson got lit up as the season aged. I'm not a big fan of his either. And then the bullpen, I'll give the Angels a C with Ben Joyce, rookie Ryan, if I botched this last name, I'm sorry, Zephyrhan. He looked insane last year in his cup of coffee debut season. And then we have some wild card strikeout machines like Hans Kraus, Jose Quijada, and the biggest wild card of all is Robert Stevenson, who was literally prime Eric Gagne to end his tenure with the Rays. He had 60 strikeouts in 38 innings before missing all of 2024 with an arm injury. So the Angels, they gave him a lot of money. He hasn't even been able to play yet. So before we talk about that 5'6" prospect for the Yankees who's going to play a lot in 2025, with all of that being said about the Angels, on paper right this second, can the Halos keep pace with the 2025 AL West division? Maybe. Okay, if I was the GM, if I was Perry Manajan, or if I was in charge of running the Angels after all of these moves, what would I have to do in order to feel comfortable about making a playoff run and being a contender? I would dangle Luis Rengifo in front of half the league, and I would try and get another two might be pushing it, but at least a 3 or 4 starter with some bullpen depth as well. I would call up Christian Moore, because I feel like Christian Moore is going to be insane. I have that much faith in him, and he's going to have a lot of protection in that lineup, which is crazy to say because you don't think that the Angels on paper might be good, but with a healthy Trout and Soler in that lineup, I mean, we're talking some serious thump. And the final cherry on top, you have to sign Max Fried. You just signed Travis d'Arnaud, who has some of the most experience in terms of catching Max Fried, and he's going to be the right-hand man to Logan O'Hoppe, who can teach Logan along the way. Keep Taylor Ward at least for this year, flip Luis Rengifo, go sign a Max Fried type of guy, and I think that's going to be pretty good. Speaking of being pretty good, Aaron Boone really likes 5'6", 25-year-old infielder Caleb Durbin, and it seems like he's going to be a big part of the Yankees 2025 season. He'll be tied with Altuve for the shortest hitter in all of baseball, and like any short king, he's got crazy good speed and insane bat-to-ball skills. Last season, he had 25 doubles, 10 home runs, 31 stolen bases, and 53 walks to just 40 strikeouts. He just won the Arizona Fall League, the AFL MVP, while playing 5 different defensive spots, both in the outfield and in the infield, obviously. Now, this reminds me a lot of Hall of Famer, 7-time World Series champion, and 1950 Yankees MVP, Phil, if I botched the last name, I'm sorry, Rizzio? I don't know how you say it, but he was 5'6". He spent every single season in pinstripes, and he missed a chunk of time with military service. But again, he did a lot of good things while he was in the league. He was a high on base guy, a high contact guy with some fantastic defense. But we can all agree that Caleb Durbin is not going to be the difference maker. If the Yankees don't bring back Juan Soto, maybe they can spread that money to a few other guys and make up the difference, but that'll be tough. And last but not least, Kyle Farmer. He is the Brendan Rodgers replacement in Colorado. At 34 years old, his best year was a couple of years ago. He had 16 home runs and a near 735 OPS for the Reds. It's time to hand the keys to Coco Montes. If you've never heard of this guy, he's going to be 28, so he's a kind of journeyman minor leaguer. Last year, he almost hit 340 with a 415 on base. I know the PCL, the Pacific Coast League, is kind of a spring pad league where your stats can get boosted because the elevation is different, but give the keys to Coco Montes, please.